What's up, everybody? It's Daniel Schmoyer here with you. Today I just wanted to talk a little bit about the leg drive and the bench press. Now, the leg drive and the bench press is something that's really important for powerlifters. When you're really trying to get that maximal output, you want to try to incorporate as many muscles and as much force as you can. So for bodybuilders or people that are trying to really isolate the chest, the leg drive might not be as important as it is for people like me that do the powerlifting competitions. But the leg drive for me was one of the most difficult things to learn to do properly. When I first started trying to incorporate leg drive, what would happen was when I would use the leg drive, it would have the tendency to make my butt lift off the bench. And if you know anything about the powerlifting competitions, that's a big no-no. You're not allowed to lift your butt off the bench. So it's definitely something that you have to put a lot of practice into, and it took me a long time to really be able to develop the full leg drive, because in a competition I'd be too afraid to really push off my legs because I would always lift my butt. So I have a few tips that I hope can help simplify it for everybody out there, because when you break it down, it's really not that complicated. It just requires a lot of practice and really knowing a few keys that can help you practice the proper way. So one of the main keys that you need to know is that you want to be driving off your heels. You don't actually want to drive with your toes or the balls of your feet. You want to drive through the heels of your feet. This pushes you back rather than pushing your butt forward. So when I first started, I didn't know this, so I would be driving off my toes. So through the experience, that's one of the main things that I learned, was driving with your heels. And a tip to practice that, if you're not comfortable doing that, what you can do is actually, when you're driving through your heels, lift your toes up off the ground. So this forces you to only drive through your heels. So when you set up for the bench press, you want to get into a position where you're almost ready to put your back on the bench and lock in position. Now, a lot of people like to lock in their shoulders first and then lock in their heels, but what I like to do first is lock in my heels close to the position I'm going to be at, and then you can move forward a little bit and get your arch, and then when you lay back, you can lock your shoulders in, and then you're ready to go. So once you have that position locked in and you have your heels on the ground, you want to tighten your glutes as tight as possible. You want to tighten the core as tight as possible and keep everything stabilized, and this will allow you to drive through your heels evenly and keep you from lifting your butt. So I'll go through a demonstration on a couple things that you need to do. So get into close to where the position you want to be. Get my feet set. Tighten up my glutes, my core, and my quads. And then you can lock in your shoulders. Unwrap the bar. And when you come down, you're pausing, driving through the heels, and keeping everything tight. When you do that properly, it's going to look like your body kind of pushes back a little bit, which is why that's important to have your shoulders locked into the bench. And a couple things that can happen if you don't drive through the heels, I can show you a demonstration on that. So if you set up first and you have your legs too far out and you don't get your legs under your body at all, that's going to give you the tendency to drive through your toes. So when you drive through your toes, it pushes you back and it wants to lift your butt up, which is not what you want to do. So you don't want to get that happening. So again, just to kind of reinforce it, what I like to do, what I find works best, is get to a relatively close position of where you're going to be and have your feet set in first. So I like to have my feet back behind, up under me a little bit. Get those heels planted. Tighten the buttocks. Tighten the legs and the core. Then lock my shoulders in. Keep everything tight. And then drive through the heels. Drive through the heels. And again, you can practice that by lifting the toes up. Drive through the heels. And then with the toes down, it's the same concept, just push through your heels. So really, it's not too complicated. It just takes a little bit of practice. But remember, the main keys are, you want to lock in your heels and your feet up under you first. You want to make sure you keep the glutes tight and keep your core tight, and then lock in your shoulders. And once you unrack the bar, you want to always stay tight. You don't want to unflex the glutes or the legs, but that's going to cause you to come out of position. So once you go down to pause it and you get the press command, you can fully drive through the heels, which is going to push your body backwards, but your shoulders are going to lock you in. So it's going to allow you to apply the most force on the bar. So here's another angle. This is just going to show the foot position during the bench press when you're using that heel drive. So once you have your heels in place and you have your glutes tight, then you can get your shoulders in place. Then you're ready to execute the bench press. So when you come down, you're pushing through your heels, and it's going to push your body back with your shoulders locked in. And again, I'll show the here's what it would look like if you're going to do the practice with lifting your toes up. So you just put your toes up slightly. So that way, all you're getting is the heel drive. You're not able to push through your toes in this position. All you're allowed to get is the heels. So then again, when the toes are down, driving through the heels, driving through the heels. So I hope that those tips help. If you have any other questions, just let me know. Thanks.